Hello, my name is John Rosebush. This is a weekly program sponsored by the Worldwide Development Corporation. I am the founder, the CEO, and the president of the Worldwide Development Corporation. As usual, when I start this weekly broadcast, I want to talk about the new energy invention. I spent 13 years working on this new energy invention. The invention now has the ability to power our planet 1,000 times over for a fraction of the cost of any energy generated today. It's based on river flow. I solved the ebb factor, which is the backwash, which has stopped the ability to generate a great deal of energy from river flow. What the ebb factor is it's the backwash that happens when you put an object in a river. You notice the force immediately, and then the backwash prevents the amount of energy that you can extract. We solved that. And then we applied leverage. And actually, I'll give a little secret about it. It applies 50-to-1 leverage on the largest unit that we have designed. It has the ability, the invention was broken up into what we call units. And the reason being is that we didn't want to produce too much energy in one location, because it has the ability to generate up to a terawatt of 24/7 electricity in one location. So what we did was we miniaturized it and we unitized it, so that way the engineering would be the same, and we widened the distribution capabilities of it. So now we can generate in our largest unit that's designed to date 1 gigawatt of electricity of 24/7, which means it's continuous. Now we know we can install this in way over 1 million places around the planet, which means it's really unlimited, because we would never, ever consume that much energy. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the energy invention itself and how I got to where I'm at. I spent 13 years working on this new energy invention. Right off the bat, when we started trying to figure out what we were going to pursue as far as alternative energy, and we knew right off the bat that we needed alternative energy that didn't consume resources, because that's not sustainable. So we knew right off the bat that oil, natural gas, and coal is going to run out one of these days. Who knows? 50 years, 100 years, who knows? But hopefully we're thinking about the longevity of energy and the human race. We surely don't want the world to end in 50 to 100 years because we run out of energy. We also looked at the population, and we realized the population now 7.4 billion, maybe 7.5. And, it's going to take a modern society to sustain that amount of largest in size of population. So we knew right off the bat we needed to create a large amount of energy. So we started looking at all the natural sources where we could generate energy from. We looked at wind and solar, and right off the bat, we threw them out because they're intermittent. They're not 24/7 energy. And we realized that we would never be able to produce a great deal of energy. I know right now we're installing intermittent energy around the world, but we notice the issues. We notice how much of a small amount of energy they're generating. So we eliminated wind and solar as a way to look at things, a way to look at long-term for energy. It just didn't make any sense. So then we looked at ocean current, and ocean current, it's got the ebb factor the same as river flow. So, those two have the same issues. But we also looked at geothermal, and we realized that geothermal is only available in certain locations around the world, and it's very costly, and we just so we kind of threw that out. We looked at tides, and we realized that tides is very similar to wind and solar. It's the tide comes and goes, and the ocean to try to extract water from the ocean really didn't make a great deal of sense. And again, we threw out fossil fuels. So that left us to, we can look at the two poles, but it's not dense enough to the energy to actually do anything. So it really left us down to rivers. And so we said rivers are the most constant, dense energy that we can produce. Now we looked at dams, And we also looked at run of the river that they have today. And we realized that neither one of them were producing a great deal of energy. So what we decided to do, and this was right at the very beginning of this project, this was 13 years ago, we decided to concentrate on river flow, which was the right decision, by the way. So what we did was, right off the bat, our experimentation that we did on the river flow, we learned right away about the ebb factor. I can tell you that was in the very early experiments 13 years ago. We learned that the issues is the ebb factor. We started out with very simple prototypes and placed them in rivers, and right off the bat, we realized that the water surrounds that object and it doesn't allow us to extract that much energy. Without the ebb factor, the energy is quite large, and we know that from common sense. If we hold up an object in a river, right off the bat, the force is just tremendous, and then all of a sudden it goes away very quickly. And again, that is because the water surrounds that object. That is the ebb factor, and that's what. So we knew that in order to be able to extract energy from river flow, we had to solve that ebb factor. So for 8 years, we tried hundreds of designs, just all kinds of things. We thought up crazy stuff, and nothing seemed to work. And so all the struggle, all the different testing, all the different prototypes, threw everything away, and it was very frustrating. Matter of fact, it got to be so frustrating that we just quit as a group. So now we've quit a group after 8 years, and so I couldn't get it out of my head. I just kept concentrating on, and even if we quit, it just, I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I thought about it day and night for, heck, 6 months. And one day I come up with a brand new concept, something we never tried, something that made a great deal of sense. And I don't know how it avoided us for those 8 years, but it did. And all of a sudden, it was like a light bulb turned on. And I realized that's General Electric's, talk and everything, but it really was like a light bulb turned on. And so, I thought about it for a while, and it took about a month. I worked up some details and did some calculations, and thought about it in my head for design, etc. And actually, it took 2 or 3 different changes in it, and all of a sudden, it made a great deal of sense. And the power projections were huge. The amount of energy I could extract, because all during those 8 years of failures, we extracted energy. My goodness sakes! But the problem was it wasn't enough energy to make a difference. And when we talk about making a difference, we want to make a huge difference, or I didn't want to pursue it. No sense in wasting anybody's time. So once the light bulb come on, I determined, wow, this thing can extract a huge amount of energy. So then I got with my son, and I sent him the information, and he got back with me, and he told me first I was crazy, thought I was nuts. But then after a couple of weeks, he looked at it some more, and he said, "Dad, this may work." So we both decided to do the calculations separately. Now, he's an engineer. He's a mechanical and civil engineer, and he's not young. He's in his 40s. So he sends me back what he thinks, and I send him what I think. And we were very close to one another within the power projection. We did them totally separate, totally different. His math skills are 10 times what my math skills are. But I use the computer, and I use different formulas, and we still came within 10% of one another. Now, that made a huge amount of sense. So then I said, okay, well, then I started working on it some more. And first I did all the engineering and all the drawings according to the first concept. Well, I know I worked in almost a think tank environment for Marathon Oil Company for 26 years. And so I always knew that once you come up with a new concept, then you start investigating, you start looking at it, and you start improving it. So for the next 2 years, I kept quiet. I didn't get on the internet, do anything. I started working on the invention and figuring out better ways, etc. And what I figured out was a way to apply leverage, 50 to 1, which now made the energy a huge amount of energy. I figured out how to unitize it. I took it through 2 or 3 different transformations to where today the energy invention and how it works is totally different than even the initial breakthrough. As a matter of fact, it makes the initial breakthrough look like child's play. So now I have something that is unitized, which means it's standard engineering. And that was important to me, that we could standardize all the engineering. So that way, now it's not all. I can tell you the site work is going to be different for all the different implementations. But besides the site work, the unit looks exactly like the same. So it simplifies the engineering completely around the world. I also figured out a way to make it work in cold weather. Now that was critical to me, because what that did was that allowed me to be able to tell Moscow I can install that energy there just the same as I can in the middle of the country and in the south and all over the place. So everywhere on the planet now has the capability of installing this new energy invention. That's very critical, because that means it's a one solution type thing. I also had to really be concerned about backup and expandability. And the reason why those two things were extremely important to me was if we're going to have one energy source, which I believe this will be because of the price of it, it needed to be very expandable, and it needed backup, and it needs to be able to be 100% reliable. That's critical if we're going to have one energy source. And I believe this will be that. Now, I mean, there'll be variations of little things that we place around. If the population is very tiny, then maybe it doesn't make any sense to install this as 1 gigawatt unit. Maybe we do install a little bit of wind or solar in very, very remote locations. That would be possible. When I say remote, I mean just a few people living there or something. So that altogether, this has taken 13 years. Now, my order of magnitude estimates is $200 million. They could be off. They could be off. I didn't go through and try to detail cost this thing. I looked at the major components. I looked at the major units. It really, truly could easily be 400 million, not no more than that, but easily 400 million. And it also depends on where it's being installed at. We would probably install it different in wealthier countries and heavy populated areas, such as New York City, that I created an example of. And I wanted to do that in the major cities because I have rivers right by there, and because I could show an example implementation of it. I actually, even in Washington, D.C., the Potomac River would operate the same way. Okay. So I wanted to show an example, and everybody knows New York City, so I showed New York City. Actually, Chicago, the river flowing right through Chicago, we could operate the same way. And then all over the world, there's rivers around our major cities almost always. And it doesn't take as much water as what a person might think to generate a huge amount of energy, the way this thing's designed. Okay, so that makes it an energy source that can last theoretically forever. That's critical, because, you know, in 50 to 100 years, if we continue using fossil fuels, if we run out of energy, we run out of the ability to make a modern society. You know, oil is a precious commodity for the world. Oil is used much more than just for energy. Again, we use it to create plastics, and without plastics, this world could not have a modern society. And without a modern society, we could not, 7.4 billion, 10 billion people could not survive. That's how critical it is. We're talking about doomsday. Now, earlier this week, along with setting up this live broadcast and on social media sites, I also plugged some other post out there about water shortages. Okay. And, you know, this new energy invention can do much more than just solve our energy crisis. Okay. It's the basis for a sustainable planet for mankind, theoretically forever. It's critical. You know, this discussion may not be so exciting, but it's important. Matter of fact, it's probably one of the most important discussions that we can have. The sustainability of the human race is our obligation to our future generations. And we so far have ignored it. The only thing we concern ourselves with, like Elon Musk, he had his rocket launch. Well, who cares about a rocket launch? That's not about the sustainability of the human race. It may be exciting. Oh boy, he did something, that people can talk about, but it doesn't sustain the human race. The Hyperloop I read not that long about it's went the fastest that it could go. So what has a Hyperloop got to do with sustaining the human race? There's many things that are taking place today that, boy, they seem exciting, but they're not important. Without the sustainability of the human race, everything else is a moot point, folks. It doesn't matter. If the human race comes to an end because of nuclear wars, because of resources in the next 40, 50 years, who cares? Who cares? So, one of the big things that I read that I really wanted to talk this week about was Cape Town, Africa, South Africa. In 10 weeks, they're going to have to shut off the tap water to over 1 million households. 10 weeks from now. Now, that will be the first major city that actually gets the tap water totally shut off. And we haven't seen what that's going to be like yet, but we're gonna. And it's not just Cape Town that is starting to face this situation. We're going to have major cities without tap water. No water. Forget about polluted water or contaminated water. No water. A major city. Now, you think, well, they're going to be alone at this. This is the only place it's going to happen. No. There's many parts of the world that is facing horrible things like this. Pakistan is another prime example. The water is very polluted, and they're starting to run out of it, and they're not going to have water. There's a Mexico City is having problems. In India, we know, in lots of parts of India, they're having major issues. Same with China. So, this isn't just subject to Africa and Cape Town. This is going on. The awesome thing about this new energy invention is it generates enough energy to where we can build desalination plants around the world to desalinate water for fresh water for these people. Cape Town's on the ocean. And 60% of the people live either on an ocean or a sea that's close to a sea with salt water. Now, these desalination plants could be built all over the world with this new energy invention. And by the way, we could take these oil tankers that we've been hauling oil around the world and use them to haul the brine back out to far enough out in the ocean where it doesn't cause harm for the ocean, for the shorelines. Because the goal of this is to not only generate all the electricity around the world, but also to replace oil completely. It's critical we do that. So we preserve that oil to make plastics for a modern society to keep the human race sustainable. Now, I've told you before, I on this post, one of the posts where I put the broadcast of this was on GE and Siemens. Don't be afraid. I will hold your hand. Now, I know that sounds like a smart aleck remark and that I'm trying to hurt GE and Siemens. I'm not. The problem is I spent about 2 months talking with GE. And GE knew that I'm a very sound person, that this engineering probably is correct. And yet they went away and they said no, that they didn't want to be part of it. And those lack of leadership skills really bothered me. Now, they could always still step up, and I would allow them because I'll tell you why they're needed. GE or Siemens. I haven't talked with Siemens, so really that putting Siemens on there is not a proper thing because they actually haven't turned down, the leadership within this. Now, I haven't actually contacted them. I've talked to them personally, but I haven't actually attempted to formally ask them. But I did GE in 2 months, and I was shocked that they turned us out. I didn't ask them for money, and I challenged them many, many times because they challenge everybody else. I thought, hey, I'll challenge you. But, I guess, I'm not really sure. Maybe they think they're too big of a company to work with me, but my technology is literally a century ahead of theirs. A century, not a decade, not a year, a century ahead of theirs. Now I'm sure once I disclose this, they'll try to copy it and everything else. But right now, I'm a century ahead of them. I look at them as like children when it comes to generating energy. Their pursuit of wind, because they can make turbines. Again, it's just to make money. Matter of fact, this is a century ahead of all the energy generation technology. I looked at the ITER project where, they're for fusion, and, they're talking about by the year 2030, they're going to be able to create a couple gigawatts of electricity. The world is actually adding an additional 500 gigawatts of electricity every year. That's how much the demand is going up. Third world countries just are starved for energy. Now, they want to produce 2 gigawatts by the year 2030. That's 2 or 4% of the energy demand for that year. Now, they've spent $16 billion, and they're in France, and they have 20 countries or whatever it is, part of this, and they have 10,000 scientists patting each other on the back over there in France. Doesn't make any sense at all. But that's how our world is flowing right now. It's insane. I'm literally shocked that I have not had the amount of people step up and want to assist me. We're talking about literally a doomsday for mankind. And what we have is these very large companies trying to protect their workload. It's stupid. Wind and solar still make up 6-8%. I don't know what it is of the electricity demand around the world. They haven't even tried to tackle transportation fuels, which is 98% oil. And they keep bragging about things that are not really true, and they market wind and solar by capacity. All these things doesn't make any sense whatsoever. None. So I continue these weekly broadcasts, hopefully to bring together some leaders around the world to work with me. I've never asked anybody for a penny. So I'm not out here trying to make money right now. I'm out here attempting to literally save the friggin' world. To bring a new energy invention to the world that has the capability to produce almost unlimited energy throughout the entire planet, theoretically forever. This is real, folks. This is so real. My website is www.wdcpower.com. There's a Prezi presentation at the bottom of it. I explain so much stuff. This is my 4th weekly video. I continue talking about this every single week that I can. Now, this week it was because of Cape Town. Cape Town, I want you to know this. My new energy invention within the first year, if we really rushed at it, could generate a couple gigawatts of electricity for you without consuming resources. That would theoretically produce enough energy so you could desalinate water for the entire city. It would solve your problem, theoretically forever. I am the one person that has the solution for Cape Town. Everybody else, maybe they want to come water from air. That's not going to produce enough water for an entire city. Maybe they want to ship in water on ships, bring in bottled water. All temporary solutions. And then I guess pray to the rain god. It seems like that may be the way people are wanting to go. Pray to the rain god. These things don't make any sense. I have the solution for you, Cape Town. Mexico City, I have a solution from you too. We definitely could desalinate water on your coastal line and pipe it over to Mexico City to give you all fresh water. We could do that up and down Mexico. Pakistan, you're not your major cities are close to the ocean. I could definitely desalinate enough fresh water for you completely. India, China. We could do the same thing close to your city, Beijing, right there. We could desalinate enough water for Beijing. China, you wouldn't have to be building huge waterways throughout your entire country to try to attempt to supply fresh water. We could supply that for you right there. Eliminate and then if the electricity, it would solve your smog issues. China, we could turn your country into something so beautiful, so much fresh water, so clean, no more smog. Oh my gosh, we could make China fulfill all your dreams. There's no doubt. India, we can do the same for you. There's no reason for your people to be wearing medical masks and everything else. This new energy invention is real. I can show you how, very simply. I can turn Africa into like because it hasn't been developed. Oh my gosh, with all the energy it needed, and then you got Europe talking deforesting all of Europe biomass and bragging about it. Alternative energy. There's no reason for none of that. Man, I could make Europe like freaking unbelievable. Russia, I can supply enough electricity for your country where you just it'd be like you think, oh my God, I just, let's be real here. I know I could supply 100 terawatts of electricity to Russia alone. Now, my God, that's 16, 17 times the amount the world produces. I could do the same thing for Africa, easy. I could do the same thing for Europe. I could do the same thing for China. I could do the same thing for India. I can do the same thing for South America. Now, Mexico, I could show you how to produce 50 terawatts of electricity. Canada. All these countries around the world have almost unlimited potential. And I'm not asking for money. What are we afraid of? One of the big reasons where I didn't just give this away, and I would have, because it's that important, is because of the inequities around the world and how unfair everything is right now. Around the world, we have 10% of the people own 90% of the wealth, even in the United States. United States just passed a tax plan, again, to benefit the wealthy. We can't have a world like this. Doesn't make any sense. My people that I'm working for are the poor people and the middle class around the world, which the middle class is shrinking, so mostly poor people, regular people. We have celebrations all the time of actors and, this here and that there, and the scientists and all the wealthy people. But you know what? I want to make sure when this new energy invention gets disclosed, it's a celebration for the other 6 billion people living on this planet. That's who my constituents are. 6 billion poor people. Billions of people without fresh water. Billions of people living on a couple bucks a day. A middle class that is now being shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. That's who I'm working for. Now, if the country leaders think that that's wrong, then, and they must, because nobody stepped forward yet. I haven't asked them for a penny. I'm talking with a couple country leaders. By the way, I had a law firm, Hogan Lavelle, and I don't want to knock them because, but, I talked to him for 2 months. I figured, hey, with, I don't know, 3,700 attorneys, one of the largest law firms in the entire world, they would jump on board and want leadership. But you know what? They haven't stepped forward. They actually think no. Why? I haven't asked them for money. Are they afraid? Are they afraid of leaders? Are they afraid of change? Are they afraid to step up? Where are the leaders so far in this world? I was shocked. The Hogan Lavelle, I met with senior partners. They knew I'm a very solid individual that would not lie. And they also knew I'm not asking for money. And they go, no. Why? Because they're working for other people? Do they not understand the importance of this new energy invention? Do they not understand that this is capable of creating the basis for a sustainable planet for the human race? Do they not get it? Do they not understand climate change? Do they not understand water shortages? Do they not understand that fossil fuels are being depleted around the world at an unprecedented rate? Do they not understand the smog issues in many of the parts of the world, the pollution, even the agricultural pollution? Do they not understand the water pollution? Do they not understand the population is out of control at 7.4, 7.5 billion people and growing? Do they not understand the nuclear the nuclear war possibilities in the future? Do they not understand Cape Town, a town with over 1 million households just about ready to run out of water? Do they not get all these issues facing mankind? Do they think that Elon Musk and his rocket launch is important? Are the hyperloop speed, as if that's the most critical thing going on in our world? Do they not understand a president that is trying to make money off hotels in Washington, D.C., instead of actually being president of the United States, and how humiliating all that is? Do they not understand Russia? Forget about our elections, holding hostage to Europe over natural gas. Do they not understand the recycling issues around the world and how important it is to actually recycle and not burn up the trash so we can preserve oil? We can recycle plastics. Where are the scientists? What is going on in this world? Do they not understand the oceans, reefs bleaching out and destroying our marine life? Do they not understand the overfishing within our oceans? That is causing, it will cause a huge amount of issues if we really do start destroying our marine life. Do they not understand up in Russia and in the Arctic, methane gas leaking out because of the permafrost melting and the major issues that could cause? Do they not see the glaciers melting on Greenland and the Antarctic, which is causing our oceans to rise, which will then, our coastal lines will be flooded around the world? Do they not understand that even England could have potential to run out of fresh water? Do they not understand in the United States, all the Western plains, etc., them pumping water out from wells, which is reducing our aquifers, which will, regardless about the surface water, could cause long-range problems with water shortages? Do they not understand the fossil fuel depletion around the world? That one day is going to catch us? And do they not understand that even the Middle Eastern oil reserve estimates you wonder about them? They doubled their reserves not that long ago just for the hell of it. And nobody questioned anything. Oh, they did question it, but nobody says anything. They just let things go. Do they not understand Pakistan, with the problems they have with all the nuclear weapons, could someday come to haunt the entire world? Where are the scientists and engineers? Where are the world scientists? They act like a bunch of meek little people talking about the issues, and that's all. Do they not understand that our oceans are sinking, and the estimates on the amount of glacier melt is false? It's actually quite a bit more than what they've estimated, and it's melting much faster than they've estimated to date. Are they locked down because of some crazy president up there that is ignoring everything and just after money? It's not just United States here. The world leaders, where are you? What I have to say is real, and the new energy invention I have designed is real. It's not only real. Any engineer worth his weight in shit could determine the power projections for this new energy invention. It's that designed that well. There would be not even a question Prototypes built, almost an exact replica of what it'll look like. 3D drawings are very well done, show everything. Engineering has very sound engineering principles behind the power projections. I'm done with the technical work, except, you know, we have to tweak it when we prototype it for real. Because, you know, if you're going to install it in a million places, you want to make sure it's as efficient as it can be. I believe it's pretty dang close now. I think it just needs tweaking. What is GE and Siemens afraid to partner with me because they want to try to copy it and so that way they're in control of their own destiny because they're worried about money? Do you actually believe that if this new energy invention can produce energy for $200 to $400 million a gigawatt of 24/7 electricity, that it doesn't change everything in the world anyway? Everything. Literally bankrupt the world. Now, you know, oh, does that scare people? Does it really? Should it? Let's see, creating a sustainable planet for mankind, theoretically forever. So we eliminate wars over resources, so that we have cheap energy, so that instead of worrying about producing energy, we can worry about how we use energy for the betterment of mankind, for desalination plants around the world, for a permanent energy source for people around the world to have transportation fuels at, say, 25 cents a gallon equivalent. You don't think that's important? You don't think that all these changes will benefit most of these companies after they reorganize? You don't think GE will have to build friggin' billion huge generators, and desalination plants will be built all over the world, recyclable centers built all over the world, and third world countries to have transportation fuels, again, without consuming resources at a level that's unprecedented in the world today? You don't think that's important? You don't understand the things that are going to be offshoot from this new energy invention is going to replace everything today, 10-fold, 20-fold, 30-fold around the world. Poor countries now will have access to a huge amount of energy. Energy is the basis for our world, folks. That's how we advanced. Now, this doesn't consume resource. Imagine almost unlimited energy. When I say almost unlimited energy, I told you how much energy I could generate on each continent around the world. Oh, did I miss Australia? Hell, I could show Australia how to generate 100 terawatts of electricity. What are we thinking here? You know, the problem is I don't have a voice. I'm trying to create a voice, but I need your help. Everybody watching this should be showing 1,000 people this. This should be put on mainstream media. I should be talking to world leaders. I should be at the United Nations putting on a presentation around the world right now to show the world how to create a sustainable planet for mankind. Every country on the planet should know about this, should be working on it, should be pushing generator manufacturers like Caterpillar, like GE, like Siemens. Fabricators around the world ought to be working. We ought to be coming up with 4, 5, 6 prototypes at one time. Different approaches, tweaking approaches, not totally different approaches. To come up with the best design in a hurry so we can start installing this, so we can start replacing coal plants, nuclear plants, natural gas plants, throw out the solar and wind, just junk stuff. This will replace dams. It's cheaper than dams. We'll use dams to preserve water, but not to generate energy. Won't make any sense. Get rid of long distance grids. There's no need for them. This thing's got so much expandability and backup capabilities. There's no reason for none of it. You know, I see Siemens sending something to China for long distance transmission of electricity because China wants to build their new electricity generation in the southern part, and then through high tension lines sending energy back up to eliminate the smog within the cities. There'll be no reason for none of that. And yet Siemens brags about it. Hell, on their posts, they're like, whoa, look what we're doing. Really? No need. Don't need it. You know, it's funny to continue to watch all these companies and stuff working on things that will not be needed in a very short period of time once this thing's disclosed. This crap will all get thrown out. And yet they're they've beaten on their chest. I'm amazed. You know, if G or Siemens stepped up right now, we make this thing happen right now. It's going to happen anyway. It's just the reason why I talk about this and I continue making posts and stuff is to show the world, if you're not willing to lead, then what kind of a company are you? What kind of leadership is it? I hope you step up. Either one of you or both of you. I'm working with a major country. We'll see how that goes. I pray that doesn't turn out the same way as all the rest of it, because I have the ability to transform their country into something that would be amazing. And so what I'm looking for is their leadership. That's all I've been looking for, is leadership. I don't need anybody's technical work. I don't need anybody's money. As soon as this new energy invention is closed, every country on the planet, every city on the planet is going to want to implement this. There's no doubt. So this isn't about, oh my gosh, I need money, right? No. The interest in this will be worldwide. So I surely don't need money. Hell, they'll be begging to install this thing. And I don't need technical work. Technical work's done. You know, that's how the 10% is held on all their money. Oh, Bill Gates, you know, hey, I'll fund it if you know, whatever. The hell with Bill Gates. The hell with Jeff Bezos or Warren Buffett or any of the rest of them. My constituents are the 6 billion people that are poor and dropping off the middle class. That's my constituents around the world. That's who I'm working for. We're going to have a world celebration of 6 billion people, not a few hundred in a building somewhere, a few thousand somewhere on a, you know, fancy trip. We're going to create a fair and balanced world where everybody can celebrate. That's what I'm pursuing. And until I can get there, this energy invention is not going to be disclosed. We can continue arguing. People in China, India, and Mexico City, and many parts around the world can continue breathing smog. We can continue to run out of water. We can see Cape Town completely not knowing what to do. I guess everybody will move out of the city. We will see all parts of the world continue to collapse as we continue to destroy the future of mankind. I'm not fooling around. I have the stuff. I'm ready to show the stuff, but the world's got to step up. The greed needs to change. Our priorities need to change from greed. It's not working. We need to start working for the betterment of mankind. I mean, look at the greed. People kill their grandma to make money. It's ridiculous. I could be worth 50, 100, $1 trillion out of this. And I don't care if I make a friggin' penny. But what I do care about is creating a fair and balanced world for my grandchildren and yours and your grandchildren and all the future generations. A world that we can be proud of, a world that holds up to the humanity and to our humanity's ideal situation. You know, we can be building vertical farms around the world to feed people instead of wasting our time on trying to generate energy. Things that are productive, things that help humanity. Imagine desalination for all the fresh water around the world so everybody has a huge amount of clean fresh water. Energy on demand, easy, without any thought pattern of it. Transportation fuels, quarter a gallon, everybody driving everywhere. vertical farms all over the world to help support agriculture. Clean air everywhere. These things are possible. They're not only possible, they're within our reach. Instead of worrying about, oh, this town's going to run out of water, acting like we're going to do Indian dances in the future. Crazy stuff. This is 21st century. This technology that I produce is 22nd century technology. I can tell you, I'm a century ahead of every single energy generation out there. I heard something about Tesla and Einstein, and their theories were great, and they changed the world, but they were theories. It was based on theories. This new energy invention is practical. It's ready to install. It ain't going to take 30 years of some thought pattern for something to happen. We can install this around the world starting tomorrow. We can change the world quickly. When I say quickly, I mean overnight. You worry about the jobs that you have today. Imagine unlimited energy and how many jobs that will create. Hell, we'll have full employment. And when I mean full employment, I don't mean full employment with a bunch of people not working, but we call it full employment. I'm talking about full employment. If we're going to really transform this world, we're allowing budgets, we're allowing monetary policy to drag us down. Well, to be truthful with you, once this new energy invention gets disclosed, if we're smart, we'll throw out all that. No reason for none of it. And we'll do what's necessary to create a better world for all of humanity. We'll change our priorities from greed, from throwaway society, to a sustainable alternative energy society where mankind can thrive and last for millions of years on this planet. I've said it many times. That's exactly my pursuit. Now, I don't know what it's going to take to do it. It really is only going to take a few leaders to step up. A few leaders. A couple leaders that go, look, I've had enough of this. I'm tired of being led around by greed. I'm tired of allowing corruption, deception, lies to run our world. I'm tired of Western countries taking advantage of poorer countries. I'm tired of all of it. I'm tired of fighting over resources. I want to become the true leader of people. And when we have that situation, we're going to be able to move forward here in a very productive way, quickly, and be able to create a win-win-win, which is what is on my website scenario for the world. A world that we'll be proud of to leave to our children and grandchildren. No more did he say this, she say this. This social stuff has got carried away. We have very, very important things to accomplish to have a sustainable planet for humanity. We're headed down a path of destruction, a path where there's no future going to be left, except for a few people that survived probably a nuclear holocaust. This is not a joke, folks, and there's no reason for it. We have scientists out there that say, gosh, everybody lived like they do in the United States, it'd take 10 planets. No, it wouldn't. We just have to be able to live without consuming resources. We've seen households live wonderful with consuming very few resources, and a household right next to them that live about the same lifestyle and just like, pigs that it takes 10 times the amount of resources. This new energy invention is a major step forward for zero footprint. Major step. Recycling, instead of our dumps being overloaded and we're saying, hey, let's go through and start burning up the containers in the dumps. If we actually took all the products made from oil and run them through recyclable centers and reuse that plastic, Imagine how much resources we would have. But that takes responsible capitalism. Again, I've talked about it in the past. All we got to do is charge a recyclable fee for the country that the product sold in, regardless from the country that it was made in, and build recyclable centers and recycle those products around the world at 100%. It has to happen 100% around the world, or it won't work, because everything will go to one country. We need the United Nations. We need them to start acting like world leaders. I know these are big things to ask, but the people of the world depend on us to get this right. I don't care about Republican or Democrat, but because they're all corrupted at this point. But I need some leaders around the world, and I can't go to our country. United States is so corrupted, so much in social turmoil, that there's nobody to go to. Nobody. I wouldn't trust anybody. They're all just, the whole thing is corrupted, and the whole thing is crazy, like children. That's why I continue to pursue, I'm just going to say it, countries like India, because they have major issues. And maybe they have leaders that are more concerned about solving their problems in their country than they are the socio issues. Europe, I can tell you, France, their leader is pretty good leader. Canada, pretty good leader. I've talked with the Mexican leaders, and I think they're interested, but they never have actually stepped forward and said, hey, let's do this. I've had countries from Africa, continent of Africa, contact me, please. I've had Pakistan leaders contact me. But I need the right set of leaders around the world to step forward. Looking for people of goodwill. How hard is it to find that? My gosh, there's times I just think the whole world's corrupted. I know it's not. I know there's people of goodwill out there. I need you to step forward. I need good leaders, leaders of goodwill around the world to step up. Even United Nations, I've talked to quite a few United Nations leaders. Everybody's like, great. Or they say, get it done. Well, I can't do it by myself. I've done everything else. My gosh, I just need the leaders to help step up and lead. I've never asked anybody for one penny on this new thing. And I have got some money, and I paid it all back in full and with interest. But I've never asked, nobody's ever put a penny into this but me. And I'm still not asking anybody for any money. That's how difficult of a challenge this is. Just looking for leadership. So I hope you've enjoyed this broadcast. What made me step forward is Cape Town. I'm so concerned about Cape Town. 1 million households. Man, there's little children involved. Families. I can solve their problem. For 1 year, we can temporarily deliver water through ships and through bottled water, etc. Do whatever we can to help them until we can build those. We could be building those desalination plants and this new energy source at the same time, and supply them power and solve that problem, because it's not going to go away. There's some guy that posts up there, well, they have everything they need to solve. Really? 10 weeks they're going to shut off the tap water? Now, I don't know what this guy was thinking, but, he just, clueless. I can solve Cape Town's problems 1 year if we really went at it, if the world decided, hey, let's get this done. And it ain't just Cape Town. Now we can go on and solve all the other problems around the world at the same time even. We can begin this process. Now, I don't know if the leaders of South Africa know about this, but I'm telling you, I have the solution. So, all right, well, I'm going to let you go. I've talked for almost an hour. I can't believe it. I hope some of the frustration I let out doesn't bother anybody, and I hope they enjoyed this video. I can tell you this, that I care about people around this world more than I even do myself, or I wouldn't be doing all this. So I appreciate you listening, and I hope you have a very